The world is designed to harvest your attention before you even have the chance to brush your teeth. If you stay until the final second of this broadcast, you will learn how to reclaim your soul from the algorithm and finally build a life of cold, calculated power. However, if you choose to turn away now, you are simply signing a contract to remain a background character in someone else's simulation. For the rest of 2025, the choice is yours. But remember that silence is often the sound of a fading legacy. Consider this reality very carefully. As we begin to dismantle the noise of your current existence, let me ask you something very real, and perhaps a bit uncomfortable. Have you ever told someone your big plan, and suddenly you lost the internal fire to actually do it? You said you were going to wake up at 5 in the morning and start your journey toward peak physical form. You posted on social media about starting the gym, or shared your business idea with a circle of friends, and for a moment, it felt incredible. But days later, nothing had changed. Because talking gave you the dopamine reward before you ever earned it through sweat and struggle. This is where most people lose the war of life. Not because they lack intelligence or opportunity, but because they leak their power through unnecessary noise. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In the chaotic landscape of 2025, that command would sound much more direct. Stop announcing your intentions to a world that does not care, and start becoming the individual you pretend to be online. Look at your daily life with a cold, unblinking eye. You argue in comment sections, trying to prove you are right to people you will never meet. You explain your life choices to individuals who have already decided not to understand you. You defend your vision to those who have never built a single thing of value themselves, while you are busy talking and seeking validation from the digital void. Someone else is studying in the shadows. Someone else is training while the world sleeps. And someone else is building their empire quietly. They do not post their early mornings on a story. They do not announce their setbacks for sympathy. And they do not explain their complex strategies to the curious public. They simply improve, day after day, until one morning, you look up and realize they are light years ahead of you. That is the true power of strategic silence. Silence is not a sign of weakness or a lack of things to say. It is a form of stored energy, a battery that powers the execution of your goals. Deep thinking is not the same as overthinking. It is the act of sharpening your blade before the battle begins. Winning quietly is not about hiding your light. It is about refusing to give the world access to your preparation phase. The truth is quite simple. The loudest person in any room is usually the most insecure. The quietest person is usually observing, and the observer is the one who learns the hidden patterns of the environment. The observer sees the mistakes of others before they happen. The observer calculates the risk and strikes only when the target is fully exposed. History proves this over and over again. The strongest leaders were not those who spoke the most, but those who listened the best. They reflected, they calculated, and then they acted exactly once. And that single act was enough to shift the tide of history. Right now, your biggest upgrade is not more motivation or more information. It is more restraint. You must learn to be silent, think deep, and win quietly. We are about to explore the 8 Stoic principles that will teach you how to control your tongue and discipline your thoughts. You will learn to build massive results without seeking the empty validation of the crowd. This is not about being passive. It is about becoming dangerously precise in everything you do. If you are ready to stop performing for others and start producing for yourself. Then pay attention. Drop a comment right now that says, "I win quietly," and commit yourself to this evolution. By the end of this broadcast, you will not just understand silence. You will know how to weaponize it. The first principle you must master is that silence is not weakness. It is the ultimate form of self-control. Most people in modern society assume that if you are quiet, you have nothing of value to contribute. They assume if you do not argue back during a confrontation, you have lost the fight. They believe that if you do not defend yourself immediately, you must be guilty of whatever you are accused of. This is the shallow perspective of a reactive world. Stoicism teaches a far more powerful path. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is simply to not be like your enemy. Reflect on that for a moment. Do not overpower them with noise. Do not embarrass them in public. And do not waste your energy trying to destroy them. Simply refuse to become the mirror image of their toxic behavior. Imagine you are at work, and a colleague subtly undermines you in front of your peers, or you are in a family discussion, and someone throws a sarcastic, hurtful comment in your direction. Your chest tightens, your heart rate rises, and your mind immediately begins to build the perfect comeback. You want to react because reacting feels powerful in the short term, but make no mistake, it is not powerful at all. It is predictable, and predictable people are very easy for others to manipulate and control. Silence in that heated moment is not a sign of submission. It is a sign of restraint under extreme pressure. It is the ability to feel the surge of emotion and refuse to let it hijack your behavior. That is true self-control, and it is the foundation of every other strength a human can possess. If you cannot control your tongue, you will never control your life. If you react to every provocation, you are being led by others. You are not the leader of your own journey. When you stay silent during an act of disrespect, you create a psychological imbalance in the room. The other person expects a reaction. They are prepared for resistance, and they are ready for the situation to escalate. But when you do not give them what they want, they suddenly feel exposed. They start to talk more to fill the void. They begin to over-explain themselves, and they eventually reveal their own deep insecurities. Meanwhile, you remain steady and unmovable. Calmness is intimidating because it shows the world that you are not easily moved by external noise. But remember, silence does not mean emotional suppression. Stoicism is not about being a robot. It is about emotional processing. You feel the anger. You acknowledge the sting of the insult, and you observe the impulse to strike back. Then, you choose not to act on that impulse. That pause, that tiny space between the stimulus and your response, is where your true power lives. In today's world, this ability is incredibly rare. Everyone is conditioned for instant reaction, instant replies, and instant outrage. But the person who can pause and calculate their next move is the one who ultimately wins the game. Silence also protects your future self from the consequences of today's mistakes. Think about how many friendships have ended because of one sentence spoken in a moment of fury. How many careers have been damaged by one emotional email or one uncontrolled outburst? Words are permanent once they leave your lips, and they can never be recalled. The Stoics understood this deeply, believing that speech should be measured, deliberate, and only used when absolutely necessary. So, when someone tries to bait you into a conflict, pause. When someone doubts your abilities, observe their perspective without reacting. When someone celebrates your failure, remember it quietly. Let your relentless improvement be your only response. Let your unshakable discipline be your only reply. Let your undeniable results be the only argument you ever make to the world. People might call you distant, or they might call you cold. They might assume you are weak because you choose not to participate in their drama. Let them think whatever they want, because while they are reacting emotionally to every wind that blows, you are building your future strategically. When the moment finally arrives and your growth becomes undeniable, your progress will speak louder than any verbal defense ever could. They will finally understand that your silence was never submission. It was intense preparation. The second principle is silence before strategy. Most people do not fail in life because they are incapable of success. They fail because they move far too fast without thinking. They see a flashing opportunity and they jump without looking. They face a minor criticism and they react without reflecting. They feel the pressure of the moment and they make a decision they will later regret. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that we have power over our minds, not outside events. To realize this is to find true strength. Power over your mind means power over your impulses. And impulse is an incredibly expensive currency. Think about your own history. How many times have you said yes to something too quickly, only to realize later that you walked directly into a trap? Perhaps it was a business offer that sounded great, but drained your time and energy, or a relationship that felt exciting but caused you to ignore obvious red flags. All of these errors occurred because you acted before you allowed yourself to think in silence. Silence creates the space necessary for strategy to emerge. When you go silent, you are not being passive. You are actively collecting data. You are watching the body language of others. You are listening to the hidden tones in their voice, and you are noticing the inconsistencies in their stories. While others are rushing to fill the air with words, you are mapping the terrain of the situation. Think about a grandmaster in chess. Before every single move, there is silence. This is not confusion. It is deep calculation. They are not just asking what they should do next. They are asking what the opponent will do 3, 5, or even 10 moves ahead. That silence is what separates the amateur from the master. You must apply this same logic to your personal world. If someone criticizes you publicly, your instinct will scream at you to defend your honor, but strategic silence asks a different set of questions. Is this person even worth my energy? Are they seeking truth? Or just looking for attention? If I stay calm, will they expose their own lack of logic? Often, when you refuse to respond with emotion, the other person collapses under the weight of their own aggression. Silence forces people to reveal much more than they originally planned to. And information is the most valuable form of power. Even the Emperor of Rome, who ruled during times of betrayal and war, could not afford the luxury of an emotional reaction. One impulsive move could mean his death, or the fall of his people. So he reflected, he wrote in his journals, and he paused. But in the modern era, silence feels uncomfortable for most people. You are trained by algorithms to respond instantly to everything. Instant opinion, instant likes, and instant outrage. The digital world rewards speed, and society rewards noise. But the path to mastery only rewards patience. When you talk too much about your plans, you leak your strategy to the world. You reveal your intentions before they are realized, and you expose your fears to those who might use them against you. When you are silent, you become unreadable and unpredictable. You become dangerous in the best possible way. Here is a practical challenge for you. Before you make any major life decision, give yourself 20 bone hours of complete silence on the matter. No public announcements. No seeking validation from friends. and no emotional discussions. Just think and write down the consequences. You will be shocked at how many urgent opportunities dissolve into nothing when they are subjected to quiet reflection. Thirdly, deep thinking means questioning yourself before you question the world. It is much easier to blame your boss, your partner, or the system for your failures than it is to look into a mirror. Most people avoid failure by avoiding the truth about themselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote that when you wake up, you should expect to meet people who are ungrateful and dishonest. But he also noted that they have a nature related to our own. This means the flaws you despise in others likely exist within you as well. Think about the last conflict you had. You probably replayed every single thing they did wrong and how they disrespected you. But did you ask yourself, if you escalated the situation, did you ask if your ego needed to win more than you needed to find the truth? Those are the questions that hurt, which is exactly why most people never bother to ask them. The Stoics practiced nightly self-examination. This was not about motivational quotes. It was about brutal, honest reflection on where they lost control. If you cannot examine yourself honestly, you can never improve deliberately. Most people spend their lives justifying their mistakes and rationalizing their bad behavior, so they can always remain the victim in their own story. But if the same problems keep following you from job to job, or relationship to relationship, you must eventually ask if you are the common denominator. Deep thinking means confronting your blind spots and recognizing the filters of past pain and insecurity that distort your reality. When you blame the world, you remain powerless. But when you question your own role in your problems, you reclaim control over your destiny. Even the most powerful emperors question their motives because they knew that ego is the ultimate enemy of wisdom. Deep thinking asks if you are staying in a situation because it is right, or because you are simply afraid of the pain of change. This level of honesty is rare because it strips away your comfortable excuses, but it is the only way to become unstoppable. Fourth, you must learn to think beyond the immediate moment. Most people are trapped inside the next 5 minutes of their lives. They eat what feels good right now. They say what feels powerful in this second, and they quit whatever feels difficult at this very moment. They then wonder why their lives feel weak and unfulfilling later on. They do not lack intelligence. They simply lack perspective. When Marcus Aurelius said to confine yourself to the present, he meant to control the decisions you are making right now, because they are the bricks that build your future. The present moment is the only place where the future is actually constructed. Most people only see the first ripple of their choices. Junk food tastes good now, so they eat it. Skipping a workout feels like a relief now, so they stay on the couch. Firing back an insult feels dominant now, so they speak it, but they are blind to the second and third ripples. That junk food becomes a habit of poor health. That skipped workout becomes a lifestyle of weakness. That emotional reaction becomes a permanent reputation. Deep thinkers ask themselves where a specific decision will lead 1 year from today. If you keep making the same choices you are making now, will you be stronger and more disciplined, or just more comfortable and stagnant? Thinking beyond the moment means observing your life as if it were a strategy game where you are both the player and the strategist. Identity is not formed in dramatic, cinematic moments. It is formed in the repeated small choices you make every single morning and every single night. Everything in life compounds. Small daily disciplines build an unshakable character, while small daily weaknesses build a mountain of silent regret. If someone disrespects you publicly, your ego will demand immediate revenge to win the moment. But if you think beyond that moment, you realize that reacting makes you look unstable and validates their insult. However, if you remain calm, you build a reputation for strength. that compounds much faster than any emotional surge will fade. Fifth, recognize that quiet wins always last longer than loud ones. Everyone seems to love the spotlight and the public applause of a viral announcement. But the louder your victory, the heavier the target on your back becomes. Marcus Aurelius said that a man should not fear death, but he should fear never beginning to live. Beginning to live means building something of real substance. Even if no one is around to clap for you, many people don't actually want success. They want the appearance of success so they can be seen winning. But loud victories come with invisible and heavy costs. Think about those who win the lottery and celebrate with loud, flashy upgrades to their lifestyle. Suddenly, old friends reappear with their hands out, and jealousy begins to fester in their social circles. Within a few years, many of them collapse because noise attracts predators and parasites. Compare that to the person who quietly builds wealth and character over decades. No flashy posts. No need for validation. Just systems and compounding effort. No one watches them rise, but no one can take them down either. Quiet wins are rooted in substance, not in spectacle. When you win loudly, you create immense pressure to repeat that performance and to outperform your own highlight reel. You become a prisoner of your own peak moment. But when you win quietly, you remain free. Free to evolve, free to fail in private, and free to improve without the weight of public judgment. There is also a psychological truth here. When you announce a goal too early, your brain rewards you with dopamine, as if you have already achieved it, which weakens your hunger to actually do the work. Sixth, do not announce the work you are doing. The moment you tell the world what you are building, you invite doubt, distraction, and 1,000 opinions that you do not need. Most of this noise comes disguised as support, which makes it even more dangerous. Marcus Aurelius didn't say to talk about being a good man. He said to be one. The work itself should be your only statement. When you announce your plans, you invite others to project their own fears and limitations onto your vision. Even if you tell yourself you don't care about their opinions, those planted doubts will resurface in your moments of struggle. You will find yourself fighting not just the difficulty of the task, but the echo of their voices in your head. Second, you create a false sense of accountability to their expectations instead of your own standards. You might start making decisions just to look consistent to your audience, rather than doing what is actually effective. Real builders don't talk about the gym. They train. They don't talk about writing. They write. Seventh, learn to let people underestimate you. Most people are absolutely terrified of being seen as less than they are. They feel a desperate need for everyone to know how smart and capable they are. But being underestimated is one of the greatest strategic advantages you can ever have. When people underestimate you, they lower their guard. They don't see you as a threat, so they don't prepare for you or study your moves. This is exactly when you strike with a level of competence they never saw coming. Every major upset in history happened because someone was underestimated. The competitor was dismissed as an easy win, and that underestimation created the opening for victory. If you spend your energy trying to convince people of your worth, you are essentially showing them your hand. But when you play a different game, you gather information while they are busy being loud about their perceived superiority. Throughout history, great leaders often appeared humble, or even passive, to those who didn't know better. Finally, the eighth principle is to win without needing the applause of the crowd. The ultimate test of your character is whether you can do the right thing when there is no credit to be gained. Can you build something meaningful when there is no audience watching? Most people are addicted to validation, needing someone to witness their effort and confirm its value. But if you need applause to keep going, You are driven by ego, not by purpose. And ego-driven achievements will always crumble the moment the silence returns. The most powerful leaders in history didn't require public celebrations for every decision they made. Their satisfaction came from doing their duty well, not from being celebrated for it. Winning without applause means your internal standards are much higher than any external expectations. You are not trying to impress the world. You are trying to become a person that you can truly respect. This shift changes everything about your life, making you free to take the harder path because it is the right one, and to work on what matters even if no one ever notices. Master these principles of silence, and you will move through life with a clarity that most people will never find. Real strength does not need to announce itself. Real wisdom does not need validation from a crowd. In a world that rewards noise and performance, the most radical and powerful thing you can do is master the art of silence. Be silent, think deeply, and win quietly. Let others chase the empty applause while you chase undeniable excellence. Now, go forth and be the quiet storm that no one saw coming. Rise with discipline and own your destiny.